you told a small lie today. You probably don't remember it. Maybe you said you were fine when you weren't. Maybe you said you loved the gift. Your mouth moved on its own, but somewhere on your face, for exactly 1/25th of a second, the truth leaked out anyway. You didn't feel it happen. Nobody around you consciously caught it either, but it happened. Your face is not as loyal to your lies as you think it is. Here's the strange part. The lie you just told wasn't really new. Humans have been doing this since before language even existed, and the machinery behind it is so old, so automatic, that you have almost no control over it at all. So what actually happens on your face when you lie, and why can't you stop it? Start with the muscles. Your face has 43 of them. That's more than almost any other body part relative to its size. Charles Darwin was one of the first to seriously study this, arguing in 1872 that facial expressions weren't learned habits, but ancient universal signals shared across cultures and even across species. He believed a scowl in London and a scowl in Tierra del Fuego came from the same evolutionary root. A century later, psychologist Paul Ekman put that idea to the test. He traveled to remote parts of Papua New Guinea to study an isolated tribe called the Fori, people who had almost no contact with Western media or expressions. He showed them photographs of faces, fear, disgust, anger, joy. The Fori recognized every one of them, no training required. That told Ekman something important. Facial expressions of emotion aren't cultural inventions, they're hardwired, which means when an emotion fires inside you, your face is going to try to show it, whether you want it to or not. This is where lying gets complicated. When you tell a lie, you're not just choosing false words, you're also managing an emotional response underneath them. Guilt, maybe, fear of being caught, sometimes even the thrill of getting away with it. And that emotional response wants to reach your face. Most of the time, you stop it. You smooth over your expression on purpose. Psychologists call this expression management, and you do it dozens of times a day without noticing. But the stopping isn't perfect. There's a delay between the emotion firing and your conscious control catching up. In that delay, something slips through. Ekman called these slips microexpressions. They last somewhere between 1/25th and 1/5 of a second, too fast to consciously register in normal conversation, fast enough to show up on slow-motion video, which is exactly how Ekman first documented them, while reviewing footage of a psychiatric patient who was hiding suicidal intent behind a cheerful interview. Watch that footage frame by frame, and for a split second before her smile, her face collapses into raw anguish. Then it's gone, covered, smiling again. Have you ever caught something like that on someone else's face and couldn't explain why you suddenly didn't trust them? That instinct isn't magic. Your brain is built to notice facial asymmetry and timing errors, even if you can't name what you saw. Researchers have found that human observers can sometimes sense deception without being able to say what tipped them off, a kind of blind sight for lies. But here's the twist science has spent decades wrestling with. Spotting the microexpression doesn't mean you're actually good at spotting lies. Psychologist Bella DePaulo spent years reviewing deception research and found something uncomfortable. Most people, including trained professionals, are barely better than chance at detecting lies just from watching someone's face and behavior. Her large-scale review of hundreds of studies suggested that human lie detection accuracy hovers only slightly above 50%. A coin flip with extra confidence. Why? Because your brain isn't actually built to hunt for deception using logic and checklists. It's built to react to unease, and unease shows up in 100 different behaviors that have nothing to do with lying at all. Nervousness, social anxiety, cultural differences in eye contact, a bad night's sleep. So if microexpressions are real, and they are, why can't people reliably use them? Because a fleeting flicker isn't a confession. It's a signal buried inside noise. Aldert Vrij, a psychologist who has spent decades studying deception detection for police and legal systems, found that many of the classic tells people rely on, avoiding eye contact, fidgeting, touching your face, aren't actually reliable indicators of lying at all. Some liars do the opposite. They overcompensate, they hold eye contact too intensely, precisely because they know shifty eyes look suspicious. Your ancestors didn't need a scientific framework for any of this. They needed something faster. In small hunter-gatherer groups, trust wasn't abstract. It was survival. sharing food, warning of predators, keeping alliances intact. All of it depended on knowing who you could rely on. A group that couldn't detect a cheater, even imperfectly, was a group vulnerable to exploitation from within. So evolution didn't build you a lie detector, it built you a threat detector, one tuned to catch flickers of fear, contempt, or discomfort on the faces of people around you. Deception just happens to be one of the things that can trigger those emotions in a liar's own face. This is why lying still costs something, even now, even in a world of texting and video calls and casual social white lies. Your body wasn't built for a world where deception happens over a screen, stripped of facial cues entirely. It was built for face-to-face groups of maybe 50 to 150 people, a number anthropologist Robin Dunbar proposed as the natural upper limit of relationships the human brain evolved to track and manage. In that world, everyone could read everyone. Hiding something wasn't just risky, it was exhausting because your face was working against you the entire time. That exhaustion hasn't gone away. Researchers studying cognitive load have found that lying takes more mental effort than telling the truth because you have to invent a false narrative, keep it consistent, monitor the listener's reaction, and suppress your genuine emotional response all at once. Neuroscientist Leanne Tenbrinka, who has studied the behavioral signals of deception extensively, found that liars often show subtle inconsistencies not because they're careless, but because juggling all of that in real time is simply hard. So every time you tell even a small lie today, some ancient overworked part of your brain is running a hidden multitasking operation. Managing your story, managing your face, managing the tiny window where the truth might slip through. And it almost always does slip through somewhere, just not in a way anyone around you consciously catches. Here's the part that should unsettle you a little. If lying leaves a trace on your face, whether you like it or not, then so does everything else you try to hide. Grief you're pretending isn't there, attraction you're trying to play down, anger you've decided isn't worth expressing. Your 43 facial muscles don't know the difference between a strategic lie and an inconvenient truth you're keeping to yourself. They just react, which means the version of you that other people meet is never fully edited. There's always a flicker underneath. You told a small lie today. Somewhere on your face, for exactly 1/25th of a second, the truth leaked out anyway. It always does. You just never noticed.